Sixers didn't. They lost. Here's the Greek Freak after the win.
Today was a playoff game for me, for my team, but we got to keep working hard. We got to stay humble, and we've been up. We've been the number one team in the East, and we just fell short the last 2 years. But now we just got to keep believing in ourselves, keep working hard, take it step by step. Hopefully we can make it to the NBA Finals. But at the end of the day, we got to worry about Saturday. We got to beat Philly again.
All right, so with the win, the Bucks hang on to that third spot in the East. Sixers now fall back into a tie with Brooklyn for first. We got 13 games left to go, folks. So, Antoine, what do you make of Giannis's comments that this felt like a playoff game for him?
Well, during the season, you always circle a couple games on the schedule that you look forward to playing. I think Giannis is starting to look at the seeding right now and starting to put things in perspective on who they possibly could be playing in the first round, or probably the second round. You're going to probably see Philadelphia if Brooklyn's able to win the Eastern Conference. So I can see him having that mentality going into the game. They're healthy. They're at 100%. P.J. Tucker's playing. Bobby Portis, they had a full roster. So Giannis is probably looking at this is going to be our team. Let's see how we play against a team that we're going to have to grow through if we want to get out the Eastern Conference. So I can see Giannis taking that approach. The flip side to that, Philly was not 100%. I know Tobias Harris came back last night and Steph Curry came back last night, but it still was no Ben Simmons. So you still got a guy that's a big part of what Philly does, a guy that's going to guard you. He's going to make it tough on you. So it wasn't 100% that, but I understand Giannis's mentality from Milwaukee's standpoint. They had their whole crew together, and they haven't had that all season. And that's unfortunate through the NBA season, all season long for every team. We've yet to see a lot of these teams play 100% healthy and have full rosters. So we don't know how the playoffs are going to go. But I do believe that teams are starting to look at their seeding right now, who they're going to be playing. So that's why I feel like Giannis made that point.
Yeah, Sixers banged up. And then through the first three quarters, the Bucks go 19 for 30 from three. That's 63%. They had no chance from the beginning. But it validates how I feel as a basketball fan, Twan. And help me out here. I've always felt like this was the time. Around mid-April, end of April is when you boys start playing basketball. Am I feeling that right? Like, why is it that it feels like the intensity goes up around this time in the NBA and it's fun to watch?
Because guys are getting ready for the playoffs. This is what you work all year for the playoffs, to have a chance to win an NBA title. And guys started to realize, and certain matchups, Brandon, you try to avoid certain matchups. And teams are getting geared for that. Coaches, the players, they understand that. Some teams may have your number. You may back. In our championship run, we wanted to stay away from the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls took us 6 games. The following year, after winning the title, they swept us. That was a team that we wanted to stay away from. So it just happens like that. I think guys are getting more healthier. We're seeing teams now, rosters starting to fill out. So this is why you start to see better basketball.
I'll tell you what, Antoine, the Bucks are the most undervalued stock in the NBA. 2-time MVP Giannis. No one's talking about him for a third MVP. No one's really talking about the Bucks. He treated this like a playoff game. They got out to a 10-0 start, and they never put their foot off the gas. And I understand Sixers are on second night of a back-to-back. There's no Ben Simmons. That's actually a reason for the Bucks to let up. The fact that the Bucks just decided to destroy the Sixers, granted they had a little comeback in the end, but the fact that they led the whole game, and you see Giannis's mentality, and you see that they have something to prove after sort of flaming out in the playoffs. If they win on Saturday, Antoine, do you feel like there is a big mental edge for the Bucks winning back-to-back games against the Sixers?
No, I just think that they're healthy. They're getting their rotations down. The addition of P.J. Tucker, Bobby Portis, Forbes. You add the guys to their team that's going to help them get over the hump. Obviously, we know about Holiday. But the other role guys, they got to get deeper. They wasn't as deep last year. You saw that when Giannis went out, they really only had Chris Middleton. So they've improved their roster a lot. But the problem with Milwaukee, and it wasn't highlighted last night, and we got to keep an eye on this. Giannis missed 8 free throws again last night. It didn't come into play because it was a blowout. That bothers me. He was 10 for 18 from the free throw line. He's had to continue to get better from the line if they're going to put the ball in his hands late. So those are some of the things they got to continue to figure out. And that's what I talked about. He has to get better if he's going to have the ball in his hands late in the game.
Antoine keeping it real. All right, so let's zero in on Joel Embiid for a second. He had 24 last night in the loss, but he was still bullish on his MVP chances in an interview with Shams recently. Take a listen.
There's no doubt. The main thing that I'm always focused on is winning. When you win, everybody on the team wins. When it comes to those awards, and you mentioned it, the dominant all season, it just feels like, every single time I have the ball, they always send 3 guys on me. And, I'm still able to do, what I do best. When you look at our rankings, my numbers, I feel like I'm deserving to be, on the non-defensive team. So I do it on both sides and also as a team. And you look at the seeding, number 1 in the East, and you look at the last 2 MVP, which was Giannis. That's what he did, offensively and defensively, with the numbers and being first in the East.
All right, Antoine, what do you think? Is Embiid right?
I love the confidence. He is right. Right now, he's 1A. I have him 1A in the MVP conversation with Joker being a close 1B. Either one of those guys, I'm fine with being the MVP. My problem with Embiid is that can he finish off these last 12 or 13 games without getting hurt and not getting out the lineup? If he chooses to miss 4 or 5 games, then the award should go to Joker. Somebody who's playing every game, who's putting up similar numbers that he has. Obviously, they're in the Western Conference where it's a lot tougher, but they're 18 games over 500. So I love the confidence. I love the swag. That's what makes Embiid great. That's what makes Philly fall in love with him. He likes that responsibility on him. And this year, he's finally showed up. They can credit that to Doc Rivers if you want to and put him in better offensive positions and really getting him away from being a volume 3-point shooter and attacking the basket more. That shows up because he's leading the league in free throw attempts, and he shoots 85% there. So he's done the work on his game to become the MVP. I just need him to stay on the court more. When you're the MVP, you need to play 75, 82 games. Obviously, smaller season, but he's missed too many games for me to just outright say he's the MVP. The Joker's a very close second, and it's a race to the end right now.
And that's the last part of what you said, Twan, is what I'm right with. I too like the confidence of Embiid. I like his argument points as well. He's comparing it to the back-to-back winner of the award, and his numbers are comparable. So I get it. But it's the injury that made us lose the momentum with Embiid. And then you look at where we're at right now. We just heard Steph Curry come out and say the same exact thing on a podcast. So you're seeing the stars in the league campaign. It's a campaign year. We got a new president. Not to make it political, but think about it. People are in a political mode right now, right? It's like this award is up for the grab right now. It's a jump ball. Embiid's like, I'm the tallest one out of all y'all. I'm the biggest one out of all y'all. I want this trophy. I want this award. I'm going to politic for it. I like what he's doing because it is not clear cut to me right now who the undisputed MVP of the league is right now, Brandon.
Well, if it's a political season, then I'm Embiid's chief of staff. Because go back to February, I've been saying it. He is the MVP, clear. And you know it. You know it, Twan.
You know
Clear-cut MVP. He's the most dominant player on the planet. And this is when LeBron James was balling and he was crushing it from the three-point line. So, wow, there's nothing to talk about. If Twan's saying all he needs to see is Embiid finish the season playing ball, then he is the MVP. Because that was the only argument all year was, well, he's 7 feet, he's balling, he's efficient from threes, efficient from the field, he looks like Elijah on Shaquille O'Neal, KD, but he don't play enough basketball. Well, he's playing, he's back, and he's still balling, so he's the clear-cut MVP, Wilds.
Yeah, we'll see how the standings go. If they're able to secure the #1 seed and they can take their foot off the gas a little bit, I bet Embiid rests up for the playoffs. There's no reason to play meaningless games if the #1 seed is locked up to go after the MVP. And to LeVar's point about campaigning, Jenna, I want to hear more out of Phoenix. Chris Paul, people are like, why aren't we talking about Chris Paul? Why aren't we talking more about Chris Paul? You know why? Because the Suns aren't talking about Chris Paul. It's not Chris Paul's job necessarily to say he's MVP, but it's DeAndre Ayton's job. And it's Monty Williams' job. And even Devin Booker a little bit. Just like, you know what? MVP Chris Paul, just like Hall of Famer Julian Edelman. You say it enough, people will start talking about it, Jenna.
Embiid talked about it. Steph talked about it. You can promote yourself. I'm all in on it. Yeah, Chris Paul's not going to do that. By the way, Sixers and Bucks.